Count it down and all that good stuff. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We are live. Episode, what is this? 11, 12? Episode 12, made in the 80s. I'm your host, Jay Boy, graded 80s kid. I'm here with your superstar sidekick, taking Tucker Carlson's place eventually.
Am I?
The magical. Well, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know enough about that shit to fill in for that guy. I'll tell you what, though, when I first saw you today on this webcam, you look like the back of, I wish I had one handy, the VHS cover to Fletch when he's in the full scrubs and hat and he's just, huh?
Yeah. Well, this thing is supposed to be kind of like, I don't know. I thought it was like kind of be like Barbie, or I wanted to talk a lot of sports today. So it actually looks like a knitted grandma version of an old football helmet from the 20s.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think you look like Fletch.
Okay, fair enough.
Which is a compliment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, like when I looked at you, I can promise you I did not think, oh, Barbie, or oh, that's a knitted football helmet from the 1920s.
It didn't. You didn't end one the first thing that came to you here with that? No. Okay.
Sorry.
Definitely not Barbie, but Raggedy
Good evening
Ann.
from the UK. Well, good afternoon from the US of A.
That's right. 5-hour difference for me from here from UK. What is it? 8 for you? Yeah. Wild.
Oh, God, this piece of shit.
They're rolling in, people.
Scrubs,
you ever notice the level of comfortability at episode 12 is much different now?
As far as what, me and you being on camera?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like the first time you're on set for something, and by day 3 you're just totally relaxed,
checked out, not even bothering with the sides for the day. No, I don't need to.
I didn't read through it even once. I'll just figure it out on set.
Figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Well, should be a kind of an interesting little episode talk here. We got some things to cover. I hope you went to see the movie. I added another one to the list last night, kind of a throwback 80s movie into the mix. I'll talk about that in a second. But obviously, the big thing for us was both of us seeing Air.
Yeah.
I think you went to see it, correct?
Well, I streamed it at home because I couldn't afford the $18, but yeah.
Yeah. They don't have $5 Tuesday there in LA?
Well, you did, but we do. But remember when we talked about it, it was Wednesday or Thursday. So I'm like, I'm not waiting another week, and we were planning this weekend.
All right, well, here we got somebody chimed in already. Evil Dead Rise was 6. So we'll just jump to that since that's what I went to see last night for $5 Tuesday. So I've never seen the next two, and I got hell for it yesterday from the guys when we went to watch the new one. Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. Crazily enough, I've never seen Army of Darkness, which I feel like everyone has seen that. Mm-hmm. Yes or no?
I don't know, whatever. I mean, I've never sat and watched it the whole way through, but I've seen enough bits and pieces. I've watched it. Yeah.
So I kind of was, and I haven't seen Evil Dead in forever. And we had a little bet at dinner before the movie. I thought that movie came out in like 83. My buddy said 78. And we split the difference, 81. Does seem like a newer movie than that in some ways, doesn't it?
It does have a mid-80s feel. Yeah. Early to mid-80s feel, yeah. It doesn't, because 81 is borderline 70s. I mean, then they probably shot
that's
it
like Halloween,
80.
Yeah, which is wild to think that it goes back that far. But I will say, the trailer was one of the scariest fucking things I've ever seen in my life. Did you watch the trailer for that?
I did see the trailer for that when I saw The Last Scream. I wish they would have played that trailer before the Mario Brothers movie with all the little shit kids in there and shit.
That would have been great because it's all about mommies and stuff. Creating hundreds of mommy issues in one theater all at once. Oh, dude, it's so good. Mommies.
That's the kind of shit if you or I worked in the theater, like
now,
and we're the projectionist. Like, oh, whoops.
Let's
sorry, I hadn't my coffee yet, and it slipped.
I threw that one in there. Yeah, for the Mario movie.
Well, it got a good reaction.
Mm-hmm.
We had to refund half the tickets. Kids were crying.
I'll tell you, dude. It did remind me of like an 80s B-list, C-list horror film. The first probably half an hour, and sometimes you wonder. Like, did did the actors, did they shoot it sequentially, which very rarely happens. We know that. Okay. But sometimes certain directors have been known over the years to be like, you know what, I want to shoot this sequentially and really keep my actors in character flow by shooting it sequentially. I think it's, I mean, from an actor's perspective, I love stuff like that. Like an actor's director, a coach's coach. Like, I love the idea of shooting it sequentially because the movie was, if the movie was really rough acting wise. Now the script wasn't great, and obviously, as from an actor, it's like, hey, you could tell. Like, certainly, there in some ways, there's only so much you can do with a poorly dialogue written script. The dialogue, it's like almost hard to deliver in certain areas without coming across as like just cheesy or corny as fuck, right? And it's hard to get the proper spacing and timing in some dialogue and in situations like that. Well, that's how it came across for like the first half an hour. And then they kind of got their flow. But then that also coincided with the time that that all the scary, crazy shit starts happening. So it's a totally different kind of acting at that point. So like all the character dialogue stuff was kind of rough with the
question
actors.
there.
Oh, let's see. Maddie's on watching. That's rare. Kristen, I got to be careful what I say now. Kristen wants to know if you are PC, if I'm politically correct. Definitely not. Oh, no, that's not what they mean. PlayStation or console. Well, PlayStation is a console.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to be the technical asshole. Wow, technically. Okay, sister.
Listen, you two girls at work that don't know what you're talking about. Well, obviously, I'm a console guy. I mean, I did play PC stuff growing up. That's a good. I like that lead in, a little side shoot right here. Like, there were those dudes that just hung on to like PC forever, even if the stuff was available on console and they had like the setup in their dungeon, Yeah,
they're called dorks.
Yeah, but I mean, they're very strange, and they just have all this extra shit. I'm like, no, dude, I just want to go outside and hoop and be able to come in and flip everything on in 2 seconds and play and grab dinner and like in the living room. And all of a sudden we got to be in this dungeon, a PC dungeon,
Yeah, they're the type of guy that cut up hot dogs in their macaroni and eat it in their PC basement.
100%.
If you're going to be eating that, eat it above ground. Come on.
PC dungeon is probably where they just banned Tucker Carlson to hell.
Maybe. If they were honestly, if they not to get political, but just for you and I being in the entertainment industry, if they really wanted to get a rating show, you get him and Don Lemon on they co-host a show or debate each other.
It'd be amazing. I'd watch that in a second. To watch those two,
everybody would, just for entertainment purposes.
Yeah. I almost feel like maybe the Rupert Murdoch called. I don't know who's in charge at CNN. It's got to be some fucking lunatic,
dude. That's just such a good like 80's line of some movie. You're like on the phone with, I don't know who's in charge over there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's so good. He calls him up and he's like, hey. We're losing our fucking minds in this country. Let's just chop the heads off on the ends, right? We just chop the heads off and try to bring everything back to the middle. The fact that they both got canned on the same day, you tell me that didn't have some kind of some 80's storyline where the head honchos got together like in Mannequin at the department stores. Please.
So you think they were cahooting?
Yeah, they're like, we gotta get this shit under control.
Maybe it's like a Trading Places situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That would be. Wouldn't that be amazing? You want to see how much of actors these guys actually are? How about we flip flop them and be like, all right, listen, now you're the number one pundit on liberal talk, and just roll and just go.
It's the same shit. I mean, it's the same role you're playing. You're just saying different lines.
Yeah,
that's all it is. Anyway, enough of that horseshit.
All right, no, we don't want to talk politics nonsense. All right, back to Evil Dead. Some really scary visual stuff. The opening scene was the best part of the movie by far. It happened at the cabin, like throwback style of the movie. And then like a modern version of the cabin scenes. And then they went back and the rest of it takes place like in this like kind of shitty apartment in LA.
So did it feel like disjointed?
at the beginning they had me, and then they went on this whole other place with it that just kind of was like a little unusual. And you know what else it made me think? I said, well, now everything has to have some kind of ultra woke, socially progressive storylines. It has to have such a diverse cast and all this stuff. Well, the majority of the cast was white, which is unusual for a modern movie, but they had to throw in, there was a brother and sister combo that were sexually, genderly ambiguous. Okay. The guy was kind of like girly, but not. The girl was kind of tough, but like whatever. And it made me start thinking, like, dude, this isn't the only time that this is a thing. Like, that shit was totally around in the 80s and certainly in the 70s when Lola came out and, girls will be boys and boys will be girls. It's a mixed
No, it's always been around. I don't think that's the issue. The issue is it's now being forced.
No, I get. I'm not trying to make this political.
Not just an interesting character.
I'm not making this political. I'm just saying it hit me how much. I mean, honestly, Sebastian Bach's a sexy motherfucker.
Well, was
John Bond a sexy motherfucker? Like, these were good-looking dudes. It kind of looked like girls. I think that's why, back then and even now when I look back, I'm like, damn, those dudes were sexy as fuck. No homo, but you know what I mean?
I know exactly,
because they kind of did look like girls. We kind of wanted to look like girls, makeup, the hair.
Mm-hmm.
I missed that, dude. Once in a while, I did a couple shows over the years where I got dressed up in the full hair and makeup, like 80s style. And dude, you think I'm taking that shit off after the show? Hell no. I'm rocking that around town, and you just feel like a superstar, bro. Like
it's amazing what a little eyeliner can do. I mean,
isn't it? Yeah. A little eyeliner.
You, Robert Smith, Batman.
Oh, speaking of, okay, we're watching the trailers for some of these upcoming movies, and it's all fucking stupid superhero nonsense. Like, honestly, I couldn't tell one from the next. They're all the same. They're all the same everything. It blowed up stuff. And just stupid character, like no soul or anything. How many
buildings do they have to blow up or run across sideways? Good Lord.
Transformers. Dude, but I'll tell you one thing. I knew it too. They didn't say it, and I heard that there were rumblings of it, but it was in the back of my mind. There was a part I don't even remember the movie, but it has something to do with DC because Batman was in it. And I saw he has his mask and he comes out and he says something like, yeah, I'm Batman or whatever.
Oh, the new Flash movie.
And you can see, I saw at the bottom, it was freaking Michael Keaton. I could just tell immediately. Dude. I was like, Michael Keaton. Dude.
People are going to go see that movie just for him.
Oh, 100%, dude.
I will. I would never watch that piece of shit ever. But Michael Keaton as Batman, I'm in.
It's so good. I mean, I can't believe he's in that as Batman again. I'm just almost just want to be I can't sit through one of those movies. I've tried to sit through a couple of them when my friends are super into it. They're so bad. All of them, all that superhero shit. They make you watch 6 different movies to understand anything what's going on. If you miss any of them, you're like, who the fuck is this person? And it jumps right in the middle of the storyline.
It's Uli.
And there's no,
Dude, how did you not get that reference?
There's no
Uli, the visual artist.
There's no
There's no this guy.
Who the fuck is this guy, man? There's no soul to any of these characters anymore.
Dude. They don't do that anymore.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
You don't need a soul when you have a goddamn cape.
I really feel like I feel watching that there had to have been a lot. And you know what was the fork in the road? The Mario movie. Honestly. The Mario movie was something, because I said in the theater last night to one of the guys, I said, you know what? I'm like, Danny, I'm digging the headpiece. Guess what it is? See if you come up with it. I said to one of my friends, I said, I feel like we're at the point where this is so fucking terrible. Nobody wants to see this shit anymore. It's going to be 10 years from now, 20 years from now, Westerns from the 60s. Just overdone, millions of them. Nobody cares. They all look and sound the same, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, but what's going to fill their place? Because what filled the place of those 60s Westerns was the new age of cinema, right? Stanley Kubrick and Francis Ford Coppola and the grimy kind of gritty films from the 70s. That's filled the space. Well, he was like, what filled the space? And I looked at him. I was like, bro, video game movies. Of course.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, what's sad is in 10 years, they're going to be just as watered down and shitty and terrible as they're going to squeeze all the jelly out of them donuts, so to speak.
Well, that's all right. There'll be some good
We'll have a
ones
good
in there.
ride for 3
we'll have
to
a good
5
run.
years. I'll write one or two of those movies.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be on our way.
Yep. No, I think that's what's going to make room for it right there.
Hey, speaking of movies, let's get back to the one we were supposed to talk about.
Yeah. Oh
Air.
my God. Air. So
I wish you and I, like watching, even like 15 minutes in, I was like, God damn, I wish we were watching this together in the theater. So we would have been laughing at shit no one else was laughing at, like so many little references.
Dude, I had the theater to myself. I went to one of those dinner theaters, where you can order dinner.
Okay.
Have you been there or no? You had to have been. They're everywhere now.
No.
You sit down and there's like a little table and they have a full kitchen with, 3.5-star cuisine.
No.
And they serve you. There's a server that comes out. Well, this is in Atlanta, but there's one in Cleveland too. But I had the whole place to myself. No one else showed up because those places usually don't get that busy, especially for earlier times and stuff. And nobody. So I grew up in Euclid where I try to be the guy that doesn't yell at the screen, okay, and talk during the movies. But when I had a free range and this movie came out, and I could just do whatever I want, dude, it was amazing.
Did you get an appetizer? Did you go crazy?
I didn't get anything. And you feel kind of bad going to those because the waiter is there to make money off you. And there's, you're there. They charge extra and they do up the theater really nicely because you're supposed to eat, and I'm like, I just ate or whatever. And so I felt bad, but then they never come back, so I had the whole place to myself. I mean, I was yelling and screaming and laughing and talking to the characters when crazy shit would happen from the 80s. I would throw stuff out there. Dude, that opening montage is one of the most nostalgic things I've ever seen.
They hit that out of the park.
I've seen a few
of those montages on TikTok, and it always gets me. But dude, they just fucking nailed it.
That one was unbelievable. And it was long. It wasn't just like 30 seconds. It was like 3 or 4 minutes of the entire lead up, and it hit every early 80s thing you could think of. Especially 84. They just nailed 82, 83, 84, 85, like that period. I mean, it was just, I was 7 years old. I can't even, my memory is completely shot now, but they hit absolutely everything I could think of, from politics to sports to electronics to.
That would have been so good to be in that writer's room. Like, okay, guys, okay, people, we need ideas. 1980 to 84. Go. I want to hear everything. E.T. Yes. Yes. Pac-Man. Yes. Mentos.
Yes.
No. Reagan. Okay, Reagan.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh, dude. And
Freedom.
Then
Sure.
Freedom. And then, like, diving into the movie itself, there were so many different things that I loved about that movie. I love that they didn't make it about MJ, but they did. They did and they didn't, They did it smart by not showing him. Right. That's what I figured they'd do, and that's exactly what they did. Yeah, because how difficult would it have been to fill that role?
It's easier to fill the role of Jesus, for God's sakes.
Yeah, in some ways. Forget Oasis being bigger than the Beatles and the Beatles being bigger than Jesus. I mean, who's bigger than MJ?
Never saw Jesus hit a layup in his life.
No, definitely not. He clanging that thing off the top glass somewhere.
From the free throw line.
No,
didn't have his own shoe. Nothing.
Dude, even that guy skateboarding in the parking lot, like, stuff's gonna come back to me as we start talking about it.
Oh yeah,
so
next
epic,
to the purple Porsche, I was like, no, I was getting anxiety. You dumb fuck. And do you remember skateboarding on them thick ass 80s boards? It was impossible. And you watch you go back and watch those videos, like, how is a dude doing a kickflip with that thing?
Mm-hmm.
It's like 30 pounds.
Dude, you go now to a skate park. I went to a skate park last summer and watched some of these young dudes, and it's mind-boggling to see the progression in extreme sports since when we were kids, when in essence they were invented, And you see, like, now every kid at the skate park can do tricks that won X Games or skate competitions in the early 90s and shit. It's insane, dude. Like, the progression of that stuff. But
I know.
I love how they nailed Phil Knight based on what everyone knows of him over the years. You know, I just thought that was epically done. Ben Affleck has really overtaken Matt Damon as like I feel like he's going to be this just superstar older actor of our generation now.
Yeah, I mean, Damon has like the better career and more esteemed roles, but Ben can kind of flirt with those kind of almost not goofy roles, but more funny ones where he doesn't have to take himself so seriously.
Yeah. And he looks
couple
good.
Lines.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, he looks good. He's got that classic Hollywood look going into his older years, like Sean Connery did, how well he aged into his older look. You know what I mean? God, I think he died like 2 years ago, maybe if I remember correctly.
Anybody watching? All three listeners?
Anybody know?
Somebody's got to know. One of you has to.
Is Sean Connery dead? If Danny were on still, I don't know if Danny's still on. He would know.
No, he'd know his fucking address.
Mm-hmm.
At the end, when Sonny Damon is talking to that the agent, and I can't remember what the setup line is, but he's like, "Of course I do. Everyone has herpes."
yeah. Dude, the writing on that movie is fantastic.
Oh, outstanding!
Everything, outstanding writing.
Another one dialogue. Was I can't remember. It's Matt Damon talking to somebody, and they're talking about like the origins of Adidas, but back to like old Germany.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's some great lines.
The dude's like, yeah, well, we all have a past, but some of us were Nazis. There's a line.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Chris Tucker crushed it.
Yeah,
as always.
And really, there's a lot of history of that guy. He started a lot of the high school, not only all-star games, but a lot of those high school clinics for basketball. At the time.
Sonny, Matt Damon's character, not Chris Tucker's. But that line he said towards the end resonated with me, where he's like, I created the high school all-star game, and he says, I'm giving away these ideas for free. And how many times have you and I felt that way and said that and had that fucking happen?
I know,
like nonstop.
I can't tell you the number of things over the years that I've talked about with people or whatever, unrelated to collectibles, just in life in general. And 2 years later, it's a thing, Yeah. But that they say, like, fire wasn't just invented in one place. Cumulatively, the wheel wasn't invented in one place. Like, these things are meant to be birthed into the existence, into the universe, and it takes multiple minds firing at the same time of these ideas for them then to become a thing. So a lot of times I've noticed, not just with me, but with other people, like, a lot of people seem to have the same ideas around the same period of time within the same year or something, where it's like, you never heard of that. It's totally separate. There's no way you could have heard this person, but there's like 8 people thinking about it at the same time. And which person gets it to market first, right? Or makes something of it first, which is a wild, just kind of philosophical concept of human existence, really.
Yeah, I can't go there. I'm already dealing with the hat today.
Yeah, that's enough for you?
That's okay.
What else? Well, we can take it back down. We'll stay. That's a movie that I could watch 20 times and we could continue to talk about all the little things from the 80s and 90s, like in general, that are in it. Not like that became something in the
soundtrack was great, by the way.
Oh, dude, the soundtrack was so good. I love the ending when it's like, they hit you with Born in the USA, which couldn't be any more 1984. I thought you
right away. Yeah.
Oh my God, dude, I was so stoked. And then I think I can't get any more stoked than that. And then they show all these like montages of Jordan doing stuff later in his career. And then they play the song that when I get it in my brain, I can't get it out of my brain, which is sometimes I dream that he is me. That's how I dream to be. Bump, 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 bump. A dream I move. Because, dude, it's funny that I ended up like more accomplished in tennis and baseball and whatever. But I was a basketball guy through and through. Growing up, my dad was a high-level basketball player, and my connection to him was through basketball, and like that was what I wanted to do sports-wise. I mean, we know I wanted to be a rock star more than anything, but I wanted to. Basketball was the one that carried me certainly through the 80s and early 90s of my childhood and my development. Dude, that song, it's like one of those rare songs that brings me to tears almost every time I hear it because it
What
takes
song?
me
I didn't
back.
recognize it when you were just singing it.
That's the Gatorade song.
Oh.
Like Mike, if I could be like Mike, oh, I want to be like Mike, like Mike. I mean, there's just, dude, when I watch, I share a lot of these Michael Jordan montages of basketball stuff. Dude, when I watch those, like they almost make me shed a tear every time. That's how
I get that,
nostalgic they are watching him for me.
And it is the player and the perform, but it's also like you feel that time period and it's just gone.
Yeah.
Not to be philosophical.
Well, the NBA sucks now. That leads me into
That's what I mean. Like
that leads me into another point.
It's fucking
the
over.
NBA, and I have something to share later that I'm going to put on my social media story that I read in the most recent Sports Illustrated about that Stan Van Gundy said. But there's a big one, and it really, the way he put it, made the most sense to me because it's like, yeah, games evolve and players get better and the schemes like in my opinion, the NFL's worse now because it's all slated for offense. So it's like who has the ball last, right? The scoring means less.
Slowly getting that way too. This started when everyone followed the NBA model of trying to make it entertainment instead of actual sporting event.
Right.
It's a fucking soap opera. And
you go to the ball games and it's like all this shit in between half innings, all this hoopla and noise and nonsense. But the game themselves, as soon as they tried to make every game about as much offense as possible, they devalued the offense and in turn made it less interesting. Like, they made football almost, because football, you had to watch everything because if something were to happen and a team scores, man, that might decide the game even in the middle of the second quarter because it's so difficult to score. Now it's like, dude, you could tune out like you can in an NBA game and just come back for the end because it's going to be decided the last couple possessions most likely. It's the part of it. I can't understand how these leagues, these commissioners, these ownership groups don't understand that it's not about scoring. It's about scarcity of scoring. It's, you want to have some offense. Certainly you don't have an old grinded out 50s game.
I mean, they're going after the casual fan that doesn't understand that concept. The casual fan in any sport thinks scoring equals winning, which I guess it does technically, but I understand what you're saying. They already have the purists and the sports fans, so they don't need to keep marketing to them.
But they're losing people. I don't watch. I almost never watch the NBA anymore. And I watch more NBA than you can possibly imagine in the 80s and 90s. I mean, we had, I don't know if you guys got it, but if you remember, during the 80s and 90s, there were a couple of local regional networks that were also broadcast through cable nationally. There was there was a one out of Atlanta, and then the WJN or something out of Chicago, which was the Chicago network, was a national broadcasting network, WGN or something. Well, all the Bulls games were on that. Dude, there was nothing better. You just knew, hey, I'm just going to turn on MJ every night and watch the Bulls play, and you were going to be wildly entertained. And so every night you got the Bulls game, whether you were in market or out of market or whatever, it didn't matter, So, but back to what Van Gundy said.
It's like Lennon said.
Sorry. Excuse me, it was Jeff Van Gundy, I think, that said this, not Stan, but whatever. They're both hilarious. But he said, I'm paraphrasing it. Back in the 90s, the Pacers were running corner outs with Reggie Miller and Rick Schmidt's pick and roll and this and that. And then you had, the Bulls running the triangle offense. You got to turn your mic down. You had them running pick and roll and whatever. I mean, the triangle offense. And then you had who did they? Oh, yeah, the Heat with Alonzo Mourning and somebody else running pick and roll. Maybe they were talking about Hardaway or something. But the point is that he said you had varying differences of the types of teams and the schemes that they were running. Vastly different. Now, every team runs the same thing, right? They run, in high school and college, for the most part, they run, 5 out or 4 out or 3 out or whatever with a pick and roll, and a high pick and roll. And the whole NBA has become literally NBA Jam from the 90s.
Oh, I wish
Two-man
I'd watched
game.
then.
2-man game. 2-man game, pick and roll, dunks, threes, and some defense. Like, the game is unwatchable. It's so fucking bad to watch, dude. It really is. It's so bad to watch compared to, and because you don't have, before, like he said, you would be watching, every night there was a matchup of different schemes and different offenses and different players. Now you can switch everything, and it's not even remotely as entertaining. And you had this guy, they have a great big man, and even the teams that would switch it up. And there was something to be said for matchups of specific position. Even positionless basketball is kind of boring to watch. It was nice to have your center, your forward, your power forward, your 3, your 4, your 5, whatever. You have your matchups. Now that threw that all out the window. Dude, the NBA is unwatchable in my opinion. That's and it has been for a long time. But
I have nothing else to add, but I agree. Fuck them.
Hey, my boy here, Zach, he's like, what do you think, big dog? What do you think about this? Give us some basketball insight. He was a high school baller, big time. See, he doesn't have the perspective though. He's 20 years old. He doesn't realize how wildly the NBA in the 80s and the early 90s was as wildly entertaining of a sports league as you will ever have, ever.
I agree.
As good as you would ever have. Brings me to today.
Okay.
So I'm watching, the Indians are a mess right now. They can't hit. They can't do anything right. But they brought up 2 young rookies for their major league debut starts. 2 starters.
Yeah, I saw.
Guy kid today, Tanner Beebe or Bybee or something. He's like number 5 or 8 on their prospect list. Dude, he struck out 8 in a row at one point, or 7 in a row at one point, I think it was.
That'll do. And
they took him out in the 6th with the guy on first and maybe 1 out or 2 outs or something. Like 2 outs.
Getting there?
Huh?
Was the pitch count getting there?
No, he got in trouble. He got a ground ball double play to kind of like work out of it. Then he gave up another hit in the 6th, and so that I think they were only up 2, and they just wanted to make the move. So he's coming off, and it's a day game, so there's not a ton of people down there, but Indians fans are super passionate for the day games, whoever is there. Like, they're into it. They're real fans, I like going to the day games because there's less hoopla and bullshit, and it's more about baseball and whatever else. So he's walking off, and, they try to be very, obviously you're a rookie. You're going to be like, oh, yeah, thank you, I'm awesome. Like, that's safe for maybe the World Series, Madison Bumgarner or something. Mm-hmm. But he's trying to be stoic and just walk off the field, and everyone's giving a huge ovation, and you can see it. He's just like taking it all in, bro. And I just thought, what an amazing experience. And I started crying a little bit. I'm a sucker for tears. What an amazing experience. Here you are. You've dedicated your life to something, right? You've dedicated your life to that point, to something. And you do so well that you walk off the field and you have all these people that don't know you in any way. They don't know you. And they're just like showering you with this gratitude for what you've put into your life to that point. I just thought it was, I've thought about that times before when these type of things happen, but what a unique experience that only happens really in baseball for a pitcher when he has his major league debut and, walks off to that if he does well, where it's like, imagine what goes through your head of all the work you've put in since you were a kid.
Oh, I get it. That happened to me first time I got a call back.
Oh, yeah? They were waiting outside for you?
Oh, the other right.
Yeah. When you showed up,
stood up, standing O.
I
got a call back with that face and no talent. Can you believe this shit?
Unbelievable.
Dedicated his whole life to it.
Yeah. One really good-looking guy went and jumped off a bridge.
Yeah. That fucking mumble actor?
That mumble actor?
Can't even say Raisin Bran.
Dude, speaking of Raisin Bran, have you seen that meme? It's like, I don't care how many scoops of raisins you put in that shit, it's still not or something. I don't know. It's kind of true.
I love Raisin Bran. I got to be honest.
They put a lot of sugar in it too. It certainly helps.
I love it.
Mm-hmm. If you had to pick,
if we're gonna do a Mount Rushmore of cereals, let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Okay.
Mount Rushmore of cereals.
Well, Cheerios has got to be on there, right?
Well, you missed a bunch. Let's just say, for example, remember that the 80s guy that I follow that I sent you his little videos of all. I don't know. That dude has everything, bro. He has like all that. He did a video of all his Trapper Keeper binders.
I know.
The other
One
day.
thing he has that I didn't see coming was a Southern accent.
Right.
Looking at him.
Yeah.
And he's got the look down and everything.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
He has all those 80s cereals that were only around for like a couple of years.
But dude,
T, the Zelda, the Mr. T, the Nerds. I remember eating all those because those were all like 84, 85, 86, 87-ish, somewhere in there. All of those. And there were so many of them. And they were so good. I mean, they were just literally a colored sugar puffs, but in different ways. But man, you just felt so cool. And you look at the back of the box. No. God, no. Those are not. I'm just saying how amazing those cereals from the mid 80s, because they were all based on, like, I don't know, maybe there is. I don't look at cereals now. Maybe there are cereals
I don't think there's a fucking Fortnite cereal.
No, that just gets the kids going.
No.
Well, we didn't have phones to stare at, so we had to stare at the back of the cereal boxes.
Vapios or something, yeah.
Vapios, dude. It's for 7-year-olds, bro.
Oh, they're
16-year-olds. No, they're not.
Play coy. Oh, yeah.
No way.
Mm-hmm. No All way. Right. So do we agree Cheerios is on the Mount Rushmore of cereals?
Oh, yeah. It's Cheerios, Raisin Bran. I mean, there's some no doubters. Like
cornflakes?
Cheerios, Raisin Bran, cornflakes, and
Wheaties.
Yeah, dude, that's got to be it. You tell me one that's better that doesn't. Those, yeah, you're very good at hitting these. Sometimes you just nailed them all. I think that's the 4 for sure. Yeah. Can you think of anything else? I mean, there's a lot of like second tier things that are famous from our generation. Like,
I mean, I think your second tiers are Lucky Charms or Fruit Loops, Frosted Flakes. You could make an argument for that for Mount Rushmore.
But those all go back early. Like, obviously, the guys at Mount Rushmore are pretty fucking old, dude. Like, gotta go back. It's not like they're put Obama and Trump up there.
They will.
They will. Yeah, eventually. Eventually, it'll be Obama.
They find some black limestone to carve into.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not going to put
They'll
Obama
replace
on
all those guys. Speaking of which, we were talking about how guys look like girls in the 70s and 80s and vice versa and whatever. I mean, dude, George Washington and those dudes, they kind of look kind of girl. They kind of look like what I'm wearing.
Oh, yeah, they had the wigs.
The wigs and all that stuff. I mean, they were kind of trannying it up then,
Yeah, they were very
those long high stockings, some nice legs showing.
Oh, they didn't show legs. That would have been far too forward.
No, I mean, but they were almost like leggings.
You saw an ankle,
like
on
yoga
leggings.
I think George. No, on the men. George.
I know that.
Those guys were showing leg, bro. Those were like yoga pants with.
Oh, they had the stockings up to the knickers. You weren't seeing skin.
That's I think how they invented the early baseball uniforms.
George Washington invented the baseball uniform.
The early ones.
Put it on his Wikipedia.
Well, they just added the stirrups, but it's the same concept as those knicker pants.
Is those what?
Knicker pants.
Oh, okay. Jesus. Okay. Okay.
I'm not trying to get canceled here.
No, you're doing it.
Knicker pants.
They're just called knickers.
Yeah. Well, whatever. That they're.
It sounds like you have something against knickers.
No, they're knicker pants. That's what they are.
Okay.
That's what I've always called them.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. So
FUBU missed a golden opportunity.
Who did?
FUBU.
Oh, for those?
Yeah.
Oh, big time. Yeah. Everyone would have bought them.
Mm-hmm. What a marketing
strategy.
Opportunity lost. Oh my God.
So, okay, I can't think of anybody that goes on that, but that circles back to something we talked about in a previous episode. And we talked about it afterwards. We talked about our Mount Rushmore of video games.
I mean, that was the last episode, but yeah, it wasn't like it was.
Seems like a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, we never, to catch people up and catch myself up. We never decided. We had 3. We had 3
for sure. Right? Mario,
Zelda,
and Tetris.
Okay, yeah. Yep.
Those are for sure. And then there was one that I threw out on that day, and you kind of were like, I don't know. And the more we talked about it, I think we decided it has to be Pac-Man.
No.
Oh.
We disagreed. I gave it Castlevania.
No, man,
Yep.
come on.
We talked about
No
this because
way.
that was the first one with like iconic soundtrack music. The first one to bring about the story of a family taking on something, which you later saw.
Yeah, and
You could argue Resident Evil, Tomb Raider, Drake's.
Yeah, it started the dark kind of scary video game genre.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
But
what did Pac-Man ever do?
Dude, Pac-Man changed the arcade. Miss Pac-Man especially, but Pac-Man in general, dude. I just think that the Mount Rushmore of video games, as far as their influence on society and video games, and we're not just talking home console. That's why I think to put Castlevania in there dismisses the importance of arcades in the 80s and 90s, and obviously reboot of them today.
All right, I'm going to do you one better. Do we agree that on the Mount Rushmore, Mario is George Washington?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't even know who all's on Mount Rushmore.
Lincoln.
I've been there too. I know that.
Teddy Roosevelt.
Teddy Roosevelt, yeah. And then who's the fourth one?
Obama.
No, he's not. No. Trust me, there's a lot of people that had their
Zelda
way.
is Teddy Roosevelt, though, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, let me look up the fourth.
I've been to Mount Rushmore about 20 years ago, and I can't remember who the fourth person is.
Nobody knows. Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt, Thomas Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson, okay.
TJ. Okay, so Mario's Washington, Zelda's Roosevelt. That leaves Thomas Jefferson and Abraham Lincoln between Tetris and Pac-Man.
I could totally see Abraham Lincoln as Tetris. Kind of a guy. You know?
I'm going to go Abe Lincoln as Pac-Man. And here's why. Because he kind of gets, Pac-Man sort of by the ghost gets assassinated in the games.
Yeah.
And he dies. Thomas Jefferson is Tetris because he was the one to put many little intricate things together of the framework of the Constitution and America.
Was it you that had that great line about Mrs.
Buttersworth?
Mrs. Lincoln? No.
Oh. No, I don't think I have any Lincoln jokes.
So somebody was complaining about something the other day. They were like, "Oh, and then this, and then that," and like, and somebody chimed in with, "Yes, but how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln?" Or something like
your
that.
review?
Yeah.
Well, I liked the first act.
Other than that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln?
How was it? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't
for your thoughts. Get it? Because Lincoln's on the penny. What did somebody say? Oh, good Lord. They could have dialed back the inheritance angle in Castlevania and it would still reign. Speaking truth to power. I don't know.
Puyo. I don't know what that is.
I don't know.
Puyo.
Some kind of foreign Pac-Man?
No, is that from Castlevania? I'm trying to remember. Dude, I haven't played... I actually played the first Castlevania a lot.
Puyo is a series.
And I've played the second one more recently again because that was actually one of my favorite ones when the day would change to dark, and I have so many memories of Castlevania 2.
Plus, I mean, it didn't invent
Symphony of the Night is a huge title for me. Huge. I bought it when it came out, before it became a big hit. I remember buying it at like Babbage's or one of those stores, and nobody was playing that. There were a couple games that I played before most people. I mean, a lot of people in the 80s, we all kind of get, but Resident Evil I bought because that didn't catch on right away. And Symphony of the Night I bought right away.
So wait, you didn't have Castle as a kid?
No, I did. But I'm not saying like I didn't have it significantly ahead of a lot of other people.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a Nintendo. There were a lot of kids who had Nintendo before I did that at school too. So
well, you had your personal computer that you bring up and rub in my face every 5 minutes.
Well, we didn't really. I told you the neighbor had a Macintosh that I played Lode Runner on, but Yeah, well, where I grew up in Wisconsin, Illinois had a Mac. You had to go across state lines. You had to get permission. There were permission slips involved. So I just think we should bring it out, put a vote to it somewhere, get other people's opinions. But I really do think it's Mario, Zelda, Tetris, and Pac-Man. I'd probably agree with you. I mean, those are the 4 iconic ones that would look good up there. Yeah. I mean, Pac-Man was huge, bro. Huge. I know. It's just not anymore. I remember the cartoon. I had a bunch of like Pac-Man memorabilia stuff.
I have a Pac-Man notebook unused.
Yeah, there was a notebooks. He had the little pencil tip things. There was, the cartoon was great. There was a cereal. I'm trying to remember what the cereal he showed. I remember there was a cereal that had two different sides. There were two little sleeves on the side. Was it Nerds? But there was another one. There was like another one that did it too. But yeah, there were two sleeves inside the Nerds one. God, those are so good. Oh man, I've still been looking for some old unopened Nerds. They're impossible to find.
I know. What else you got?
Let's finish up with a little your favorite talk on auctions, which just happened this last week.
All right.
So obviously the market is continuing to soften in the middle and lower stuff. There's some really good deals to be had. Some of the bigger name stuff, I think it was a bit of a disappointment when that duck hunt only did 100,000, which is a funny thing to say, 100,000, a duck hunt. But the more I talk to a few of the other guys about it, it's like, is it a premier title? Yes. Is it wildly nostalgic and super important and everything else? Yes, to the point of how far did it continue beyond that? I don't know. Beyond our generation, it didn't. Yeah, a big game hunter or some shit at the arcade maybe it led to, but I don't know.
I mean, it's iconic. It is. That fucking dog was like the first villain ever.
Mm-hmm.
Little shit. How many times did you use those after the ducks were gone? You try and shoot that son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch for
every
sure.
time.
Every time. But, yep.
Why don't you go catch the fucking birds like you're supposed to?
Dude, I was so mad I didn't realize I tried to hook the Nintendo up a couple years ago, and you have to have the old CRT TV or whatever.
Oh, for the gun to work.
For the gun to work.
Yeah.
They have an updated one, but it only works on like one game or something that doesn't require that. It's got some other different ways that it works. But yeah, I was reading how the thing actually works, and yeah, it's a bummer that that you can't get that to work anymore. You have to have an old television. But after that, I really thought that was going to do a lot more than it did, like a lot more. And after that, the auction kind of pittered out for a short period of time. It was interesting to see they got a bigger mix now of WATA and VGA games in there. Some got respect, some wildly did not get respect from previous prices. I think one of the big stunners was a couple things. There was a 9.4 WATA Mario Bros. CIB 3-code mid production did 22,800. I have one of those in a higher grade. That was mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, that was.
But those are rare in that condition. Any 9 point whatever over box and everything else. It was a 9.0 box, I think. Mine's a 9.2. It had some nice components, but that was a wild one. A 90 qualified, VGA qualified, did 10 grand of similar print run, non-hang tab, which was a huge. I mean, the VGA qualified stuff does get a nice premium. So that's been interesting to watch that. Those are supposed to be unused, super high grade components inside that have never been used per qualified standards.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, certainly CIB stuff continued to rise. Obviously, it's kind of the gap is closing. You know what I mean? Like
we talked about that a year or two ago. This is what would happen, and
the gap is closing. People want stuff that presents nicely for their collection more than anything. If it's really rare stuff, early stuff, yes, sealed, okay, because there's only 3 or 4 of them. The condition isn't as important, but yeah, people want high grade stuff for their collection. And so now it's like, dude, in some ways, I mean, look at this. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past 9.6 A+. That was the LRB reseal, excuse me. But they had an VGA 85 did 18,000, which is a solid price for that piece, honestly, because that'll cross pretty well. I thought that did well, but a 9.8 CIB with, I think it had full 9.8 components. Might have had a 9.6 box, but did 15,000. A CIB of Link to the Past.
I think it was 9.6 box and 9.8.
9.8s, yeah.
Which is cool that they gave it a 9.8. I like that.
Yeah. Well, if you do the math based on how they say
We'll go
it's
to
done.
a 9.7, right?
But yeah, I mean,
9.7,
dude,
6.5.
there's a ton of sealed Legend of Zeldas that are going in lower grades, like 8.5, 8.0, 75s, 80, whatever in VGA that are going significantly lower than that right now.
Well, that's, no matter what the medium, the high, at the end of the day, high grade is the key.
Yeah.
Sealed, CIB, whatever. And it sounds obvious, but I think a lot of people struggle. They see those big prices and they're like, well, this one looks pretty good. It's like pretty good is a world of difference from 9.6 or 9.8. A world of difference.
Well, I forget if it was Jonas or somebody else who said a couple years ago, and I always remember that it's condition over print, which there are a few titles. I mean, we talked about this too. You and I have talked about it, and I've talked about it recently with a couple other fellow collectors. There are a few titles that no matter what, I don't think the condition matters as far as how much someone will pay. Like there are titles out there right now that I think are six figures no matter what condition, because there's so few of them. And I think there's only a couple. I think there's 4 for Nintendo. And there's probably some for some of the other platforms, but I know Nintendo the most and it hits the most nostalgia or whatever. I think there's 4 titles that are in that realm. And I'll see if you can figure out the last one. Obviously, any early print Super Mario Brothers is going to hit 6 figures no matter what at this point. Any early print Zelda, even though there's no second ones graded that anyone thinks exist as far as graded ones that have come across any pop reports, but those first couple prints, the non-Rev A's. Castlevania Hang Tab, the first release. There's the pop of those is 4 or 5 or less.
Do I get to guess now?
And then you get to guess the 4th one.
White Bullet Tyson.
No. But you're right there. I think we forgot that one. But I think that one.
Well, I'll go with what Grim said. Mega Man.
Yes, Mega Man. That was the 4th one that we talked about. I think any of the early first print Mega Mans would be the big thing. No, Famicoms do not command those prices. To answer your question,
there'll be a push for Famicom, I think. But
the other problem is that the only people that were grading the sealed Famicom stuff was VGA, and they will no longer do it because they got wind of and were able to finally identify. And they said they're not even able to fully tell that there's somebody creating fake sticker seals for the back. And that's really the only indicator. There's no paint break because it's plastic. So they will no longer authenticate those titles. So that kind of puts maybe the CIB or SIB or whatever might be a thing, but yeah, that's a big one that's kind of out the door there as far as that stuff goes. But to me, those are okay. Maybe there's 5. White Bullet Tyson would be another one because I don't think there's very many. What is there, like 1 or 2?
Yeah,
that exist.
And that's just other than Mario and Zelda, to me, the marquee title of as far as pop culture goes, when you tie that into Nintendo.
Well, I think it's all 5 of those. I think maybe the weakest link on that tree would be Mega Man, but that one still belongs in there, and there's so few of those.
It's not my personal weakest link, but I think the weakest is
Dr. Wily, Dr. Wright. I mean, the Dr. Wright print. Yeah.
I think Mega Man probably has a little more broad. I don't know. It's close between that and Castle for the weak link of the 5, as far as pop culture and.
But you can't put Castle in your Mount Rushmore potentially over Pac-Man and then say it doesn't belong in that.
I prefaced that by saying not my personal feelings. I said just in the lexicon of American culture right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's close. Like between Castle and Mega Man, they're kind of the same, I think.
I mean, it just depends, I think, who you are. Because I'd take a Hang Tab Castlevania over a Dr. Wright Mega Man. Anyway.
So would I, in a heartbeat. It's cool.
In a heartbeat. Yeah. I love Mega Man. Okay. Mega Man 2 I love, but that's really but there are some crazy Mega Man fans that probably wouldn't even think twice about that question.
Yeah.
But I mean, those are the 5, I can't think of another one of the system or even any of the other systems really that would qualify in that same capacity. I mean, those are the 5 that I think no matter where this whole market goes, all of those at some point in time when every 5, 7, 10 years with every collectible, there's another wave, you know?
Yeah.
Whenever the next wave of this stuff comes, those are your $1 million games.
Yeah. I mean, I think you said you couldn't think of any other ones in other systems. I think you got to throw Super Mario World and Link to the Past on there, like a 9, 8 plus.
Yeah. I mean, trust me, I have 2 of them. I'd love for that to be the case, but I don't know if those are in, because the other ones are the first of all that stuff, and they're so unbelievably rare. And we're talking about, you could say a 988 plus in a bunch of titles. Okay, even like Resident Evil and later stuff. But if you're just talking about, my point was any copy of those 5 games that we just discussed, any copy at this point, right now, today is a 6-figure game. And almost, unless it's completely, dog shit beat up, like, it's a 6-figure game. And all of those, because cumulatively of the 5 games, there's less than 20 copies of all of them. 20.
The way you're looking at me right now and just staring and holding that, the vibe you're giving me is Bradley Cooper as a cancer patient.
Oh, why?
Well, the eyes were very piercing and blue like Bradley, and the lighting and angle, you look like him. And then, I don't know, look in a fucking mirror and look what you're wearing.
Oh, yeah. Well, you got to go out on top.
You don't look like a dying cancer patient, just like,
not a dying one.
First round of chemo, and now you're wearing a little bravery
and you're
hat.
Just feeling good. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah. And you're just like, I'm going to, no matter what. But yeah, to me, you're talking less than 20 known copies of those 5 games cumulatively is pretty wild.
What are those, the ET Ataris, the one they found in the landfill? What are those? I've seen a couple of those graded. What do those go for?
For a little while when that story was hot, they were going for some few thousands of dollars.
Yeah. They cooled off, yeah.
My buddy has one of the carts, and it's cool because it comes with the you look like a beachcomber or a day laborer. It's a very different person there, but
complete very one doesn't work at all.
I have been both. But
never had a day job.
I mean, I was a day laborer for a day.
One day laborer.
A 1 day laborer. But yeah, my buddy has the card, all the stuff that they unearthed and sold off to people has like a little authentication thing about it. It's pretty cool, actually. I mean,
super cool. I would love to have one of those.
Yeah.
Great display piece.
100%. So I think that was it. Let me look if there was anything else from this particular auction I wanted to touch on.
Oh, you could talk about the Nintendo Power.
Oh yeah, the Nintendo Power doing $100,000, and that's kind of right at 100 where it ended up going is kind of like where everybody thought it was going to be.
Everyone thought, it's going to hit 100, and it did, and barely went over 108 if I'm not mistaken. And then what did
I think with the fees and everything, yeah.
What did the Duck Hunt go for? 122.
The Duck Hunt did right at 100 plus 20 for the whatchamacallit stuff.
So that's we talked about this on the phone the other day. Which one
would do more? Yeah,
I think the Duck Hunt's a better investment, but I'd rather have the Nintendo Power. Just like forget about money. Just which one do I think is cooler?
Yeah. Yeah, that Nintendo Power is amazing. And it wasn't even, I mean, it's clean, but it's not like crazy clean. I have 3 of them at grading for them right now. All 3 that I sent in look as good as that one, which I'm very like, what are they going to send me back? Because of course, if they go through every page, I didn't go through every page. I don't know, what every single page looks like. I'm just looking at the covers and spines and stuff.
Same. But yeah, I don't know. To be fair, the pictures I saw, it looked very clean, but not quite a 9.8, which is weird because they've always traditionally graded those super, super tough. So I was kind of shocked when I saw those pictures. And it's, it's a second print technically. And it still went for 100, which is just nuts.
Well, I guess the consensus now is that those both were released at the quote unquote same time.
I don't know. I remember watching a documentary with, it was on Nintendo history, and it was a lady that worked there at the time. And I remember she's like, so, the sample copies we sent out first, and, people got those for free, so they're probably not worth anything. She's like, and then we sent out, so the sample copy got sent out to Nintendo Fan Club subscribers already. They already had their info. They sent them out. and then the free so that's the free sample, and then the free poster copy. That was more just like once they got subscribers, or the general one they sent out. So according to even that lady in that documentary, who clearly had no pulse on collectibles whatsoever, the sample did come out first.
Okay. I didn't see a big variance in CGC to WATA prices this time, like the last one where the CGC stuff did really well. There was some nice respect finally for VGA stuff in high grade, because I'm going to tell you, if anybody who doesn't do VGA, anything over 85 plus with them is near impossible to achieve. It's near impossible to achieve. I've submitted hundreds of games to them, and I have 2 games ever that have been 90 or higher. Ever. They're impossible. And there were 290 plus. Chrono Trigger that I had, and well, the other one's a VHS. So in essence, one video game.
I mean, goddamn, if you had to pick one to get, though, that's a good one.
Yeah, that was a good one to get. Yeah. A Castlevania 90 plus Symphony of the Night did 10 grand, which that's a 988 plus all day long.
Cheap.
Well, those titles were down in general. Like a 948 plus Crash did 13.8, which is
another. I'd rather have the Castle. Are you kidding me?
I'd much rather have the Castle. Yeah, that 90 plus. I mean, for what it is, but for what they used to go for, like I was going to bid on that thing if it was reasonable. I'm like, okay, it's not. It should go for double that or triple with how hard it is to find, and certainly in that condition is the highest one in the world. Here's one that blew my mind: Resident Evil 2 for PlayStation, the double jewel case. Okay, the early movie offer, early production one. I had one that was like so mint, not like ridiculously mint. It had a couple tiny little seal tears, but it was really nice. It came back 80 plus. I was like, oh my God. I thought it was like an 85 or 85 plus. It came back 80 plus. This one is a 90 plus. Like that's so impossible to achieve, a 90 plus. Right after it was the same game in a 9.6 A plus, WATA. The WATA did 1,700. You know what the VGA did?
I do not.
14,000.
Wow. That's
Dude, somebody paid,
seems like a steal.
Somebody paid 14,000 for that Resident Evil 2 90 plus, and they only wanted to pay 10 for Castlevania. Like, wait, what? I would buy that Castlevania 16 times over that. I mean, trust me, I don't know. Resident Evil 2 is a huge copy, but
huge title, and so many people are attached to that and love it. I'm one of them. Like that was I did play the Resident Evil 1 first, but Resident Evil 2 was like the first one I fell in love with. So I'm a little younger than you. People my age, that came out, 98?
98, yeah. See, I played the first Resident in 96 when I was a senior.
Like I remember playing that in the basement of my buddy's house with the lights off, and we're like,
that's 13. How I was with the first one. Awesome. I would pay stupid money if I had it for the first one. Yeah.
So I get it. I wish I would have gotten to play Symphony back then.
Dude!
But somehow,
that came out in
I don't know how.
97.
Somehow that never came into my life ever until I met you. Really, somehow I just missed
Symphony of the Night. Oh, dude, what an amazing game! And it was a sleeper, dude. It was not a big title at the beginning, at all.
I mean, why though? Well, I mean, was Castlevania just like the franchise kind of dead at that point?
It was a little bit dead at that point, honestly. There was
what was the last release?
I think something from Genesis.
Oh, Genesis.
I think something from
Bloodline?
Genesis.
No.
Yeah, it might have been something from Genesis, or it might have been that Dracula X or something like that.
I mean, people like the Super Nintendo one.
Oh yeah. But that thing kind of came out of nowhere. I remember going to the Babbages or whatever the hell it was, and being like, "Oh, I didn't even know this was coming out." And,
Symphony.
Yeah, and I grabbed it. I was like, "I got to play it." And I remember going back to my apartment at the time and just playing it nonstop for like 2 weeks. And I was never big on smoking pot, but one of my friends came over for like the weekend. And I was never good at smoking pot either, because I would just get, I'm like one of those guys. You're like, nobody should get that high. That's me. And I end up talking like somebody from Dazed and Confused. Oh, I remember you from history class, man.
Check you later.
Check you later. Check you later.
Dude, that's so weird. When we were playing Resident Evil 2 in the basement, I remember he snuck a couple. These had just come out. I was 13 or 14. I hated the taste of beer, and that lasted for like another 15 years. So he was like, "Oh, we got to do something, man." I'm like, "All right, sure." And this new product came out, and he got it for me, and I tried. So I was drinking Smirnoff Ice, bro, playing Resident Evil 2, and like just thinking, "Oh my god," I'm like buzzed off a half of one because I'm a tiny little underdeveloped 13-year-old, and there's fucking zombies and shit coming at me, and what an experience,
dude! I got so stoned playing that game for a weekend, and just like addicted to it, just eating food and playing the game all weekend. And then I never forget. There's like spells you would cast, and I think that you would say the names like in the game. The guy would say the names like an voiceover, and I just remember being so stoned and being like casting one and being like dark metamorphosis and like looking around the apartment because I would say it with him.
Dude, I hope your buddy just like flipped the lights. Okay, Jake, we played enough. Okay, go ahead and put your memory card in, save your game.
Off you go. I get the fuck out.
Off you go. Yeah, really cool. I'll see you tomorrow. And then click deadbolt.
It was my place though, but yeah, that's okay.
That's even funniher. Kicks you out.
He just out you go. Okay.
Okay.
Wait a second.
Here's a sandwich.
Oh god. All right. Well, that was good, man. I'm glad you got to see Air. I would watch it 5 more times. I'd watch the Super Mario Brothers movie 5 more times.
Same.
I think we're gonna have to dive into more music things over the next couple episodes because that's obviously getting really hot and there's a lot to talk about. So that'll be on the agenda if you guys check that out.
All right, music next time. Music.
I had some stuff to show, but we're an hour plus. So yeah. Let's wrap it up. Thanks for joining us. Episode 12, made in the 80s.
Is it 12?
Yeah.
Official. Okay.
Yeah.
Episode 12.
All right. We're a dozen in. Baker's dozen next time. We'll see you.
See you.